So what makes one assay better than another assay? Well, obviously the assay has to work for your particular application. That's sort of a no-brainer. But more importantly, what you really need is an assay that's really robust, that really has pretty good guard bands on how that assay can be performed. It needs to be easy to use. Anybody needs to do it. You don't need to have a really skilled user. And so it needs to have that reproducibility on a day-to-day basis and a user-to-user basis, and even within the same day. And that's true whether we're talking about an ELISA that we can actually establish numerical CVs on, or whether we're talking about a Western blot where we're looking at band intensity. The assay needs to be time efficient, so you need to be able to get through it in your normal workday. It'd be good if you could process a large number of samples if that's what you have. It ought to use low amounts of sample because typically the samples that you're analyzing are relatively precious or relatively hard to obtain. So it needs to be sensitive enough that it gets you the results you need and has enough of a dynamic range that you don't have to do a lot of repeats. It ought to be pretty cost efficient in terms of the reagents that you use too, so you don't want each assay to be so expensive that you're constrained with the amount of research that you can do. And that's why it makes sense when you're thinking about developing an assay to first develop a really good antibody that's going to fulfill all those functions, because it's going to make that assay just that much easier to do. It's going to make that assay just that much more robust, and it's going to be a pleasure to do that assay rather than a struggle that so many people kind of, you limp along with the antibody that if I could just tweak the assay, it'll work a little bit more. You would have been so much better off if you started off with the right antibody in the first place.